Welcome to the Emme Factor Live. My name is Em and I am finally here. I know some of you have been waiting on this and I don't know what happened, but it seems like we are breaking the internet. This is a live stream and I am dependent on the technology that we are given, and it just didn't work, and finally for whatever reason it just works, and I am just grateful and happy that I can be with you. So whoever was waiting and is still here, welcome, and let's take a deep breath. I've been feverishly trying for half an hour to do whatever I can to make this work, and it finally worked. So what better way to demonstrate that this is life? And this is exactly what we are facing right now. Sometimes things work, and a lot of times things don't work out the way how we want them to do. And the best thing that we can do is stay calm, to do what we can and be okay with whatever is. And that's exactly what I had to do in this moment in time. I didn't give up. I kept trying, and here I am. So welcome to the Emme Factor. My name is Em. Whoever doesn't know me, I'm thrilled that you are here. I'm a yoga teacher and I teach yoga on a little bit deeper level. Hope to provide clarity and understanding of why we practice and how we practice. And there has never been a more important time to practice yoga than right now. But I want to tell you immediately that it's not just postures on the mat. It is not just moving on the mat, which is one part and which is wonderful and important. And maybe that was your first encounter with yoga, but there is so much more. And so today's teaching is going to be about our breath, which plays a vital role in our life, not only to keep us alive, because when the breath stops, we will stop to exist as well. The breath, which is a life source, and has a lot of power to be used as a tool, especially in times where we are stressed, where we feel anxious, where we need release. And I would like to explain to you why the breath is so important today and do a few exercises so that you can follow me and learn how to breathe, why to breathe, and how to breathe a little bit more consciously. Because I know that you have heard this, and many classes are right now saying breathe in and breathe out. But I have a feeling that a lot of you really don't know why and how. And I think if you understand that, that's the basis to create a much more conscious practice. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, first question, why shall we breathe? So the breath is part of a system in our body that is called the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system is part of our brain that governs a lot of functions in our physical body, which we don't have control over. So I cannot sit here and tell my heart to beat faster or slower in this moment. This is governed by the autonomic nervous system. The same with my digestive tract, my pulmonary system, how I'm breathing, and my cardiovascular system. So all of these systems are governed by autonomic nervous system, part of our brain that does this in the background all the time. We don't have to think about it. It is just always there for us. Now, within this system, we have two separate systems. One is the sympathetic nervous system and one is the parasympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system is the nervous system that activates everything. It is about being able to use everything properly in our body. So it actually is a system that breaks down things, yeah? And what breaks down need to be built up. And so the sympathetic nervous system creates the functions or allows the functions in our body to work properly that recharge, recover, and basically build up the part that we have used up in the sympathetic nervous system. That's very easily explained. Of course, it's much more complicated, but I don't want to go into the full anatomy. Just understand that the parasympathetic nervous system is part of our brain that automatically governs our rest and our rebuild and recharging response. And that is exactly what we need in times like these. So for us to have a tool against stress, we need to be able to tap into the system that is already built within us physically, to tap into that system to help to get into a place where we can recover, recharge, where we can rest, where we can rebuild. Yeah? So when we are under stress, like we are right now, because times are uncertain, because we are all facing some form of hardship and some form of almost an attack, and the body responds to this. And so it responds of us having the guard up all the time. Even when we sleep, a lot of us don't find the rest anymore that we might usually have when times are just a little smoother, and there is not this energy of us reacting to something that endangers our life. And we all are under this, and all of this is subconscious. So I can't just sit here and tell myself, okay, I'm just going to be calm. It just doesn't work like this. If it would be so easy, we all wouldn't feel the way how we feel. Yeah? So now, our breath, the in and exhalation, and the conscious, knowing how, activating of our breath can help stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. And with stimulating, I mean that it can help be more activated. And that means that we become calmer, that we can come into a place of rest, that we at least have a moment of recovery so that we can go out again and do what we need to do. Yeah? So this is why the breath is so extremely important. And anatomically, just for all of you who are interested in that, the reason why the breath is a tool to actually stimulate that nervous system is because one of our most important and big nerves, the vagus nerve, it runs from the brain through our face, through our cervical and thoracic area, through the rib cage into our abdominal area. So it's a very, very thick and important nerve. And this nerve runs through our main breathing muscle, the diaphragm. You have probably heard this before. The diaphragm is a muscle that looks almost like an umbrella, and this umbrella is centered right here in my rib cage. It lines the part of my rib cage, and when I inhale, the umbrella lowers down and activates. It creates an activation, and when I exhale, the umbrella releases and comes back into its normal position. Yeah? So our breathing muscle does this movement all the time. So it lowers and lifts its dome. And because the vagus nerves runs through this dome, there's an opening and it runs through it, we stimulate our parasympathetic nervous system, and that's the feeling that we create when we consciously breathe. Yeah? I think this is very interesting to know, and on the background of that, let's dive a little bit deeper into our breath. So the breath seemingly has two main parts, which everybody can feel, the inhalation part and the exhalation part. When we go a little bit deeper in my classes, I always teach that actually it has four parts. It has an inhalation, and then there is a moment of a break, there is a turning point, and then there's the exhalation, and then there's a moment of a break, a turning point, and then there's the inhalation. So we really consciously have 4 different parts to play with in our breathing, inhale and exhale. There are really 4 parts. And in yoga, we have many different breathing practices. They are called pranayama, and pranayama means controlled breathing. So now, remember, we are stimulating the vagus nerve when we are breathing, and because this nerve is stimulated, we have a direct impact on the way how we feel. We can de-stress and we can come into a restful state. So when we do different breathing exercises in yoga, different forms, we have many different ones, we are actually stimulating that system. Yeah, and this is really, really important. So 4 different parts to the breath, and today I would like to invite you to breathe with me. So if you are an experienced yogi, if you have been practicing for a while and you're experienced in conscious breathing, you can do this sitting upright. But for everybody who hasn't really practiced conscious breathing maybe in a while or has never learned this, I would love for us to lay down, because laying down on our back, again, we are helping the relaxation stimulus going into our body. When we are relaxed, we can tap into this breath with a lot less tension. For many of us, just sitting upright already. And I know you might say, well, this doesn't apply to me, but I promise you it does, because already the 10 minutes that I'm sitting here, some of you, if you would sit upright on the floor, you would feel this. And so I want to invite you to lay on your back, and we'll start there and then progress to the seat in a moment. So let's lay down on our back. Wherever you are, I know probably it's a little crowded right now at home and people are running around, but if you watch this as a replay, or if you have a moment to have some peace and calm around you, it would be much better and more effective to learn this. Yeah, so let's lay on our back. And I would like you to keep your knees bent. Everybody can still hear me? Yes, okay, there it is. So now I'm alert with technology and hope that everybody can hear me and feel the energy that comes through this. All right, so we're laying flat on our back. Some of us, if your head is tilted back a little bit, be so kind and take a blanket or a pillow behind you so that the head and neck is not leaning too far back. So take a moment to see if your head can be parallel and actually facing flat towards the ceiling. Yeah, this is an important part. Now, from here, the knees are bent. I would love for you to relax the hip and lower back area. That's where we have most of our weight. And it is really good to have the knees bent, because for some of us, being in an extended position already creates a little bit pull on our lower back when we are on a flat surface. So knees bent is a much more restorative position for all of us. So if you ever want to lay down and just relax for a moment on the ground, which is a wonderful restorative position, bend your knees. And you can actually let your knees hang towards you just very lightly so that there's no tension. This is the most important part. Now, have your hands to the side of your body, but we will put them in a moment onto different parts of our torso. So right now, just for a moment, allow them to extend and lengthen your spine. Before we completely release, keep your eyes open and lengthen your spine. See if you can. Imagine that the tailbone draws back towards your feet and that the back of the crown of the head lengthens. So just for a moment, create space in the whole entire spine. And then when we are here, Release and allow the weight to come onto the floor. So no matter, even if you feel how your spine actually shrinks in together a little bit, that's absolutely fine. But we want to start from a lengthened position. Now, close your eyes for just a moment. I want you to feel your face and notice if there's tension in your forehead, if there's tension in your cheeks, in your jaws. A lot of us hold a little bit of tension in our face most of the time, completely subconsciously, we don't even know it. If you would be filmed, you would see how much tension actually is in our face, even when we're seemingly relaxed. But most of us are not filmed all the time, so we don't have an awareness of that. But here right now, release the jaws, maybe open up your teeth a little bit from each other, open the jaws and feel if you can place some release into your face. Notice how your neck and throat is relaxed, how your shoulders are sinking into the ground. And allow the weight of the body to be held by the floor. Now, we place our hands onto our rib cage. And all I want you to do, so right up here where the rib cage kind of like pops up the highest, have your elbows relaxed and your fingers softly on your rib cage. And all I want you to do, and you can keep your eyes open if you like, or closed, is breathe without changing your breath. Just notice your inhale and your exhale. I don't want you to do anything. I don't want you to guide yourself or breathe deeply, nothing of that. Just be aware, find awareness, notice and observe your breath. Don't make it specifically long, just let it flow exactly how you would breathe. Because you need to get a status, we need to get a starting point of where we are in this moment in time. This is your breath. And this is your breath when you're laying down already relaxed on the ground. So you can imagine when we're sitting and when we're upright and when we are moving around, the breath might be even more shallow than what you feel right now in here. And the longer we lay, the more you can see how the breath actually calms a little bit down. And you might notice not only the in and exhalation, but you might also notice those two parts in between that I just talked about. Some of you will notice that there's a break between the exhale and the inhale. And that's good. And that's right, and I want you to feel that. Notice if there's tension in your body. Notice if you feel anything, if your body is giving you any signals, any signs, but stay connected to your breath. Some of you will also feel your heartbeat, which is wonderful because it creates connection internally. Good. So now, you might have felt that right there in this opening of your rib cage, where the rib cage starts to open, that's a place where the breath actually creates a movement up and down. You might be able to feel this. When you inhale, the space in between your rib cage actually expands out. And that's our diaphragm requiring a little bit more space, because remember, when we inhale, the umbrella lowers down. So it lowers down towards the abdomen. And now place one hand on top of this upper part of your opening of the rib cage.
So not on the rib cage itself, but on this opening, just one hand. Not too low on the belly, but right up here. And again, we observe our breath. And you will be able to feel how the breath lifts and lowers the hand. Now notice where just completely naturally, where and which part exactly of your rib cage opening and of your abdomen is lifted and lowered. Yeah, right? You can probably feel how this is a wonderful way how to get connected to this part where the rib cage opens, and there we can feel our breath. Now place the other hand right below the upper hand onto the lower part of the belly. And now we close our eyes, and I want you to consciously start breathing a little bit deeper. And the emphasis is on a little bit, not super deep and wide. Don't go into full volume, just a tiny little bit deeper. Without a lot of effort. And notice if you can reach the lower hand, the one that is way deeper in our almost pelvis area, if you can reach that hand with your breath as well. And then slowly and gradually start to slow the breath down. Instead of thinking deeper breath, I want you to think, how can I slow my breath down? Very little, just a little bit. So we are transitioning from breathing awareness, where we are just noticing our breath. Please stay in that position. I'm going to sit up because I can instruct you better in seated position. We are transitioning from breath awareness into controlled breathing. So keep inhaling and exhaling a little bit slower, a little bit wider, and see if both hands can be reached without you forcing or creating too much tension in that breath. And by now, you should also be able to hear your breath. You probably hear the soft sound of your breathing through your nostrils in and out. So this is a conscious breathing. This is the way how we consciously stimulate the vagus nerve, which can in turn create a relaxation, resting, recharging, recovery response. Let's stay there for another few breaths. And keep your hands onto the upper abdomen and the lower part, both of those parts. And you might notice that the breath actually is a little bit more feelable in the upper hand, but we also feel it in our belly. And you might want to direct your breath into this lower part. See if you can without a lot of effort. That's the key, yeah? I know you can all blow up the belly up and down. This is not the exercise. The exercise is not blowing up the belly. The exercise is to breathe calmly and consciously without having to blow up. But as a response of this calm and conscious breath, your abdomen in the lower part is going to blow up a little bit more. That's exactly what we want. Wonderful. Let's take 3 more breaths. Inhale and exhale. And I will not say inhale and exhale because I want you to only focus on your rhythm. You will have a very personal speed, a very personal rhythm, which is your breathing rhythm right now. So me saying inhale, exhale is not going to help that. Focus on your breath. Beautiful. And then slowly open your eyes and bring one knee after the other to your chest. And please roll over your right side and slowly lift yourself up into a seated position. So, one more time. If sitting on the ground is not easy for you to erect your spine and sit upright, please sit on a chair where you can sit upright, because we're going to do this one more time now in a seated position, because you will not always be able to lay down on the ground when you need this breath. So we want to practice this one more time together in a seated position. All right, so here we go. I'm going to cross my legs over the other position. All right, sit upright with your hips tilted forward, upward, so that your sternum can be high. The back of the crown of the head reaches up high, and the shoulders fall wherever they fall in this moment in time. If you want to learn more about the seat and posture, I teach all this. It is something that needs to be trained consciously, just like the breath. And so here I don't want to go into detail as much in this moment in time. So find that seat. Now, let's do this again one more time. With one hand on this upper part where our rib cage opens up, and one part on the lower part of the belly. The other hand on the lower part of the belly. Keep your eyes open if you like. Have your shoulders and your arms relaxed. We don't want to be in tension here. Good. So from here, we slowly in and exhale and find our breath first. Just like we did on our back, laying on our back, I want you to find that wave-like motion in the diaphragm and in our abdomen. You might feel that in a seated position, it feels a lot different. Do you see it? Because we have to sit upright, and our muscles, especially our abdominal muscles and our core muscles that have to hold that position, have a little bit of a different function now. So they are dividing its activity between keeping us upright and stable, and at the same time participating in our breath. That's the reason why it feels differently when we sit or when we lay down. So now, when you have found your breath and your personal breathing rhythm, see if you can slow down the breath just a notch, just very little. I will breathe a little bit louder, and I hope you can hear this with the microphone. So I will just breathe a little bit louder so you can hear me. And you see, my personal rhythm is already very slow, because I've trained myself over many years, and so I have this very calm, slow rhythm. You might not be able to be as long as calm in this moment in time, which is fine. Which, do not even worry about this. It doesn't matter at all where your breath is. And please don't force it. Yeah? This is the most important part. So one more thing. I want you to feel one more thing that is part of our breath when we are upright. And that is our rib cage. So place your hands onto the side of your rib cage. And just for a few conscious, deeper breaths, I want you to see if you can breathe into your rib cage and actually expand it out. Expand with your inhalation the rib cage, and see how the rib cage deflates a little bit with our exhale. Let's try this out. Sit upright. And the elbows are going to stick out to the side a little bit. Just hold on to the side, not the front, but the side of your rib cage. Good. And then see if you can inhale and maybe breathe through the mouth in for just a moment. So you see, and now breathe through the nose, you see that the rib cage can also expand when we breathe. Can you feel this? Yeah, there's a very clear expansion. And this expansion is not just in the front, not just in the side, it's also in the back. Yeah, this is very important to feel as well. Good. So now, we have these kind of like two separate places where the breath can go in. Let's see if we can bring this together. If we can let our full, whole breath be experienced in our rib cage as well as in our diaphragm, right below where the rib cage opens up, and maybe even in our belly. Yeah? You might not be able to feel this right now in this moment in time altogether. Again, this takes some training, and it takes a conscious repetition. So this is something that we now can do every day. Yeah? And now you know how to do it. So we will get better at it, and we will be able to fill a lot of our torso, and we will be able to have a lot of stimulation for our parasympathetic nervous system even when we sit down. And from there, we can do different exercises, breathing exercises that stimulate the vagus nerve differently. Yeah? So what I want us to do is place one hand onto our belly, maybe kind of like in the middle, and one hand onto your rib cage. And let's see if we can bring this together. That's a full yogic cycle of breathing. Again, start with just noticing your in and exhalation and feel it below your hands. And you might notice that the hand that is in the front is the one that actually moves first. And the hand that is on your rib cage is the one that moves a tiny little bit later, just a smudge later, which means that our breath, really our inhalation, is feelable first in this front part and then in our rib cage. So now slowly and gradually, I do want you to lengthen, to slow and deepen your breath. We will do this together. Inhale and exhale. Try and see if you can now stay in my rhythm a little bit. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, belly, chest, rib cage. Exhale, chest, rib cage, belly. Inhale, belly, chest, rib cage. Exhale. Both of them actually are. There's no clear exhalation where one starts to exhale earlier. you can really feel this. The exhale, it's almost like as if the whole system deflates together. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. And now see if you can release your hands and keep breathing. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Let's do it 5 more times. And that was it. Okay, so now you know the why and the how to breathe. I hope this excursion has helped you to dive a little bit deeper and to understand a little bit more. And now, please don't expect that you can just do that. Please expect that you can now practice that and you will get better at it. Yeah, I feel in our yoga mainstream teachings, it's always just put out there and we think we're just doing it. I think it creates the misconception that there's always practice to be done and there's training that needs to be repetitive and regular and disciplined. And over time, we will get better. So my wish is for you to practice this each day. Practice this many different times. You can do this 5 minutes. You can do it 15 minutes. You now have the tool to do it laying on the ground, which you have noticed, if you've done this with me, that it feels completely differently and creates more of a relaxation response. But you might have also noticed that in seated position, it's a very, very good way to calm our nerves, to calm our emotions, to become still and to be able to sit for a moment, because that's what we will have to do in these days. We will have to sit with it. We will have to be with it. There are things that we can do, and that's what we will do, like breathing, but there are things that we can't control. And we have to be with these things. And the more you train yourself to be with that, what we can't control in this moment in time, the less stressed you will feel and the better you will be able to cope and manage and deal with these moments when really these waves come that all of us, of course, can feel in these days. I hope this was helpful. Please subscribe to this channel. Please share it with whoever can maybe benefit from it. I know my classes are always a little bit longer because I want to teach you. Yeah, this is not a quick fix. If you don't have time to watch it, maybe come back to it later and learn this. If my deepest desire for you, my wish, my vision of these videos is for you to learn something. I don't want to show you something and you watch me, and we have enough of that out there. I want to teach you. I want you to do this with me. I want you to get back and maybe rewind and do this again and learn so that you can take this into your personal yoga practice, because that is what next level yoga is. to create a practice that is personal, where you don't just copy something that somebody else does in the front. Yeah? You can see me here at 12 o'clock each day. Hopefully the internet's not going to break, and I will see you again tomorrow. I will pick something else to teach that is helpful in these days. And please leave me a comment, leave me anything any questions. Oh, I see it. Petra was asking diaphragm, Zwerchfell. That's exactly right. So we're trying to do this in different languages. Yes, Petra, the Zwerchfell is the diaphragm, and that's exactly what we were working on today. I will see you tomorrow. Namaste.